Oh no, oh Hawaii, just for a day our king and queen would visit all these islands and saw everything. How would they feel about the changes of our land? Could you just imagine if they were around and saw how
Aloha kākou. My name is Kale Guapak, and I represent the Pohaku Council Mauna Kea on the island of Hawaii. And this is Dexter Kayama, our attorney that represents us, and Nancy Monroe, who is also a member of the Pohaku Council Mauna Kea. I submitted written testimony to the board, as well as Nancy Monroe, and I'm going to deviate from my testimony slightly. It's important that we lay the foundation of information to the board in regards to the mutual cancellation of the general lease for UHF at Mauna Kea. And in the foundation that we're going to lay, it's important that we provide information of correct terminology, because I am a Hawaiian Kingdom subject, and I am finally learning my political genealogy as to what happened. There was never a treaty of annexation, and so now we need to correct some terminology. First off, ceded lands. Ceded lands continues to perpetuate the lie of what actually took place. Because when we take a look at what cessions is, when you look at cessions, it means that you have a country that legally transferred itself over to another country. There has to be a treaty of annexation that took place. So what happened to the Hawaiian Kingdom? Was there a treaty of annexation that took place that legally transferred itself over to the United States? That never happened. There were two attempts that were made in 1893 and the second attempt in 1897. Both attempts failed. Then in 1898, the United States Congress passed a resolution that said we are going to take the Hawaiian Kingdom. It was a congressional resolution taking the Hawaiian Kingdom, and that is not a treaty of annexation. That law can only apply within the territorial limitations of the United States. They cannot apply in a foreign country of the Hawaiian Kingdom. From that point on, the lie took place from 1898 forward. There was never a treaty of annexation here in Hawaii. The cover-up took place all the way up to today, 2013. And when I hear people say that ceded lands, especially when the Office of Hawaiian Despair talks about it, it's very, very discouraging, because they themselves should be the ones to know. And when you have the governor talk about ceded lands, he should know, because it never happened. These are Crown lands, and you, as board members, should be referring properly to these lands. So the lands up at Mauna Kea should be referred to as Crown lands properly. So let's talk about those lands. Because there's no treaty of annexation, what that means is that the United States has no jurisdiction here in Hawaii. Even the U.S. Pacific Commander and their lawyers admit that there was never ever a treaty of annexation. There were two executive agreements by Queen Liliuokalani and President Cleveland, of which she assigned her executive position to President Cleveland. President Cleveland accepted it, and he also said that he would restore the Hawaiian Kingdom government. Those executive agreements apply today. So the proxy queen of the Hawaiian Kingdom is Barack Obama. His responsibility is to enforce Hawaiian Kingdom constitutional law, and his responsibility is to restore the Hawaiian Kingdom government, which puts you as board members responsible to enforce Hawaiian Kingdom law when you make determinations into these kinds of leases, if that. You are responsible for that. And you're supposed to be using Hawaiian Kingdom law when you make these determinations. Because if you do not, and you're using U.S. laws, which includes state laws and HRS laws, you can now be charged with a war crime. Because in 1959, when the Statehood Act came along, that was a war crime. We are now laying the foundation to present this information to you, because it is very important that in this foundation, in further decisions from this point on, and I was advised by our attorney, Dexter Kayama, that in all past decisions, you could not be hit with war crimes. But from this point on, because we are now laying this foundation, you can now be charged with war crimes. Because we have now laid the foundation. And you cannot say you did not know. I have provided this information to you. You have now got it on your table. And it is now your responsibility to research it, because we are opposed to the lease that is now before you up in Mauna Kea. Nancy Monroe will further be able to provide more information as to why, under the Geneva Conventions and the United States constitutional law, you guys have got to follow this.
Could you summarize that, because you're going to present all of this?
No, it's short.
Hang on. We're going to, not today, but we're going to hand off to our attorneys, right? Those who represent us. As you said, now that you provide us with the information.
Yes.
They have to do the analysis. That's not part of it. It is, but it's not part of the process that we're doing. They have to have the due analysis. I appreciate the additional information that you could do. Were you going to say anything?
Actually, just a few words, because I don't want to reiterate what's already been submitted in the written testimony. Of course, the legal position, gentlemen, is that, of course, the United States continues its usurpation of illegal occupation. The position really, Mr. Ida and board members, is that you temporarily are responsible for the management of these land areas. And I say temporarily because I wish to inform you that as of August of 2012, a complaint calling for the end of the prolonged occupation was filed with the United Nations General Assembly. That complaint was received, an acknowledgement of that complaint. Just for your information, those kinds of complaints can only be acknowledged and received if you are a state that recognizes an independent state. In addition, a complaint was filed with the International Court of Justice a month ago. That also has been acknowledged, and the process is moving forward, calling for some preliminary measures, including countries that have acceded to the jurisdiction immediately to stop all further treaties with the United States concerning any territory of Hawaii, to stop any engagement as far as political, social, economic, or military with the United States concerning territory of Hawaii. The point is, ladies and gentlemen, it has been 120 years since the illegal overthrow and 115 years since the illegal occupation. Those matters are now being addressed in the international community. I believe a resolution to those issues will be forthcoming within the near future. So it is my request, respectfully, and I think listening to some of the questions that the board members did ask today, I do believe you are taking some responsible steps as towards what should be the proper stewardship for Mauna Kea. Presently, though, as proposed, the lease as proposed, it is the estimation, my estimation, that still falls short. And acceptance of the proposed lease in its current form would, in my estimation, violate your obligations, because your obligations as a temporary one is not only to the state of Hawaii or to the people here in the state of Hawaii, but you do have an obligation to the Kingdom of Hawaii. So your stewardship or the decisions that this board makes, which impacts property that properly belongs to the Kingdom of Hawaii, Crown and government lands. Of course, the record itself is being made in this meeting, so just respectfully ask that you take that into consideration. We would oppose the current lease in its forms.
Also, in addition to that, the countries that do have telescopes up at Mauna Kea, they will be affected by this, as to what is taking place right now currently at the Hale.
Hello, I'm Nancy Monroe, and I'm also with Kanaka Council, Mauna Kea. And I know I'm part of the illegal occupation. I came here to go to the university. I can't say I'm a Hawaiian Kingdom subject, but I want to be in line the first day I can take the oath. And some just legal factual information. The state of Hawaii, nor this board, has legal title to the land on Mauna Kea, and has no legal authority to grant a lease. The United States is a high contracting party to the Geneva Conventions, and thus is in violation of its own criminal code, which requires that the laws agreed to in the 1949 Geneva Convention 4 be written into U.S. constitutional law under U.S. Code Title 18, Section 2441, the War Crimes Act, which directly incorporates several provisions of international treaties governing the laws of war into the U.S. Federal Criminal Code. An armed conflict is not a requisite of application of war crimes when a state, meaning a country, is under military occupation, which Hawaii is. The Kingdom of Hawaii has been under military occupation by the United States of America in violation of neutrality treaties since August 12, 1898, during the Spanish-American War. And according to U.S. Field Manual 27-10, Chapter 6, Item 358, occupation does not transfer sovereignty. Thus, the sovereignty of the Hawaiian Kingdom remains intact. The United States has committed a grave breach of the Geneva Convention 1949 under U.S. Field Manual 27-10, Chapter 10, Item 502, by extensive destruction and appropriation of property not justified by military necessity and carried out unlawfully and wantonly in allowing construction of roads, facilities, and telescopes at Mauna Kea. I am opposed to the proposed mutual cancellation of the general lease and issuance of a new direct lease to UH for the Mauna Kea Science Reserve and Pohaku mid-level facilities. The entire existing general lease must be canceled completely to halt any further appropriation of property in violation of both U.S. law and international law. Further decisions made by this board and its members to the lease extension at Mauna Kea will be considered another commission of a war crime and will be reported to the International Criminal Court for investigation and prosecution. Please take care that you are not subject to international arrest when you make your decisions. I thank you.
And just in case you had any questions about the lease,
No, that's way above the legal occupation, so somebody's going to have to
Yes.
explain it to us.
and just so you know, I actually did submit on memorandum and briefs to special deputies for the Attorney General's office as of last year, so much of this information is already transmitted to the Attorney General's office through the special deputy.
We'll wait till the next week.
Well,